Monday Night Football, Philadelphia Eagles at the Indianapolis Colts in the Dome. Let's fucking do this. That's the one bad thing about Monday night games, which I like the fact that it's on a national scale and the whole country gets anyone that's watching football that night is going to be watching your team play. You have to wait one more day longer than everyone else to see your team play. Trust me, as a diehard football fan, that one extra day feels like an eternity. So, and just a brief update, I'm going to be doing a live broadcast from here. If you want to watch my pain and suffering as the Colts whoop the Eagles' ass, or will they? Because I see two options here in this game. Two options for how I see this game is going to conclude. Number one, it's going to be a back-and-forth shootout, similar to that Week 2 game against the Chargers, the home opener last year for the Eagles, where you just had a back-and-forth game, and the team that scored last, the Chargers, ended up winning the game. You know, both teams got 30-plus points, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I see a game like that, because both teams have the ability to put up lots of points. Indianapolis is the team that is never down and out. Andrew Luck already is one of the greatest comeback quarterbacks that I've ever seen. And he's going into year number 3 here. That is sick. That is just sick. So, I see this being a back and forth game, and the only other option I see this game being is, and you know, neither of these options may be true, but I see the Eagles winning this game in a landslide. Just in an absolute fucking rout. A rout that goes, how did this happen? This makes no sense. How did the Colts barely score? How did the Eagles score 40-plus points? I see something like that. Because when I see this game, I say to myself, the Eagles shouldn't win this game. There is so much more pressure on the Colts and motivation for the Colts to win this game. Because losing that first week game against Denver, they know. And statistics tell you, if you start out a season 0-2, there is, I think it's like a 12 to 14% chance that you will make the playoffs. The Colts don't want to be in that hole, especially with teams like the Titans looking like they may be the real deal in their conference, in their division in the South. But it's still just after 1 week of football. I see the Colts as just flat out the better team on paper right now. They're a team that's made the playoffs the past 2 years. Andrew Luck needs, no other explanation as to who he is and what he does. They are out of, Mathis is out. He's suspended, but he tore his Achilles on top of this, so he wouldn't have been playing despite the suspension right now. And it's still a very good team. That team that we saw play Denver last week grinded the fucking shit out of Denver to the point that the Denver defense was just flat out gassed. That Denver defense was just flat out gassed the fuck out. Now, either that's Indianapolis rode them so hard the entire game that they wore them down, or just Denver is just old and decrepit and they just tapped out come the fourth quarter. Either way, this Indianapolis Colts team can hang with anyone. You can hang with Denver up into the final minute. You can hang with anyone in this league right now as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, it's the motivation at home, coming off a loss, saying we can't lose again. We can't start off the season with 2 losses in a row. The Eagles, having come off a win, don't feel as pressured as Indianapolis to win this game. So therefore, everything is kind of tilting towards the Colts' favor. Nick Foles looked kind of shaky last week. It's like, boy, he looked like shit in that first half. Whereas Andrew Luck, it's like, he just looked like Andrew Luck. The guy that's down and out, and then all of a sudden, big, huge comeback in the end of the game. And that's scary. A quarterback that can keep his composure while he's getting his ass kicked and come back and make a competitive game out of any situation. But then again, I think back last year to Week 16. Who did the Eagles play? They played the Chicago Bears. The Bears had everything on the line playing for an NFC North title, trying to beat out Green Bay. And they came into Philadelphia with everything on the line. And the Eagles had nothing on the line because it didn't matter. It was a game that didn't matter because it mattered what they did in Week 17 against the Dallas Cowboys. What did the Eagles do? They beat the fucking shit out of the Bears. That was the best wide receiver tandem they faced all year, and they shut them down. They got so much pressure on Cutler. They shut him down. Everything. Every aspect of the game was a complete and thorough domination. And it made no sense. And I see that in this game. I see the Eagles saying, like, oh, the only way the Eagles can win this game is if they keep up pace scoring-wise. Which is what I said about the Chicago game last year. I was like, well, the only way they're going to hang with Chicago is they can keep pace with them because they're going to put up a lot of points. And the Eagles won by a 20-plus point deficit. Anyway, that's how I see this game. I see this game mirroring that Chicago game in a lot of ways, in that one team has so much more to play for than the other team, yet that other team just won by a logic that was unforeseen by anyone. But do I think the Eagles are going to win this game? Honestly, I don't. I'm predicting the Eagles to lose this game. I wish I could tell you, just in my heart of hearts, I'm like, they're going to win this game. No problem. They're going to win this game. But it's like I said, there's going to be so much more motivation on Indianapolis's end to win this game. And another thing that leads me to doubt, aside from Nick Foles having a very shitty first half of football last week, is that this Eagles team needs to prove to me, they need to prove to me that they can beat the good certified playoff teams. Because last year, what did we have? I hear all the critics out there, and you know what? The critics have a lot of good points on this Eagles team. When they look back at what the Eagles did last year, it says, you might have got 10 wins, but who did you beat? Who did you beat? Let's go over who they beat. They beat Tampa, didn't make the playoffs. They beat the Raiders, didn't make the playoffs. They beat the Bears, didn't make the playoffs. They lost to Minnesota. We'll forget about that one. They beat the Redskins, didn't make the playoffs. They beat the Giants, didn't make the playoffs. They beat the Cowboys, didn't make the playoffs. Do you notice the trend here, people? Who did the Eagles lose to? They lost to the Chiefs, they made the playoffs. They lost to Denver, they made the playoffs. They lost to the Chargers, they made the playoffs. All these better teams of the league, the teams that are making the playoffs, comparatively last year, are the better teams in the league, the cream of the crop of the league. The teams that beat the Eagles are those better next tier teams. For me to sit here, and I know people are going to be like, well, they beat the Packers last year, they made the playoffs. Please, Aaron Rodgers wasn't in that game. If Aaron Rodgers was out the entire season last year, the Packers would not make the playoffs. So, we have a bunch of teams like the Lions and the Cardinals and the Packers. Well, not the Packers, they made the playoffs. All these teams that aren't playoff caliber, they beat them. And the teams that did make the playoffs, they lost to, aside from Minnesota, and the Cowboys beat them, and the Giants beat them one game with Matt Barkley at quarterback, but that doesn't count. This team has to beat a team like this before I can sit here and say, oh, they're playing the 49ers next week? Well, you know what? They had an impressive win of Indianapolis. I think they can win that game too. You got to beat an Indianapolis before I can sit here in my head and say, yeah, they're good enough to beat a San Francisco. Yeah, they're good enough to beat a team like Seattle. They got to beat these teams that have made the playoffs like the Colts have the past couple of years. The teams that have the better quarterbacks in the league. Anyway, I don't see the Eagles winning this game. And if they do win, hey, more the power to them. I will eat it up. It will be great. I'm not sitting here and saying there's no absolute way at all they're going to win this game. Because like I said, this could be that Chicago Bears Week 16 matchup all over again, where Philly goes into Indianapolis, blows their fucking doors off, and everyone goes, whoa, where did this come from? Because that's the type of team that it is. That's the type of team Chip Kelly has going there, where it's like amazing things happen when you just didn't foresee them. Even that Raiders game last year, that was a top 10 defense in the league, and then Nick Foles puts up 7 touchdowns on them. They were top 10 up to that point in the season. So, I want to see the Eagles win this game. I hope they win this game. Do I honestly think they will? No, I don't. But I'm not going to harp on that because I know they can win this game. Both teams are out there Mathis, so that's going to be interesting. And that's another reason why I'd be more inclined to say that the Eagles are going to lose this game. Evan Mathis and just injuries on that offensive line. We've seen, and Lane Johnson still being suspended. We've seen what this team looked like with Nick Foles with a shit offensive line 2 years ago. Yes, I know it was a completely different regime with Andy Reid still here and all that. But having guys like an Evan Mathis and a Lane Johnson out, guys that Foles really got comfortable with last year, having key pieces out like that could cause some confusion, could cause, different pressures to come in that he's not expecting. The guys don't react the same, and Jason Peters and Jason Kelsey can only do so much to pick up the slack of the guys that are out. So, I think it's going to be a good game regardless. I don't see the Eagles losing and getting crushed in this game. Of course, is it possible? Anything's possible with Andrew Luck at quarterback because he's proven to put up a shit ton of points on anyone in this league. Good defenses, bad defense, it doesn't matter. And rumor has it that Evan Mathis is going to be a potential game time decision. All I gotta say is rest him. Rest him, rest him. He's got a sprained MCL. Even if he has a chance of coming back in this game, I wouldn't even risk it. Because frankly, this is a much softer defensive team that they're facing this week than going into that San Francisco game with a much more ferocious front four than what the Colts are going to offer up. I would rest Mathis. Don't even bother bringing him into this game. Let Evan Mathis sit on the side and do contract discussions, which sucks because he's in a contract year. Anyway, one last thing I want to mention is I didn't give this guy props in my Eagles video last week. Cody Parkey. My God. Fuck you, Alex Henry. Good riddance. It's nice to have Parkey on this team. And I just want to also thank, fuck you to Henry. I just want to thank the Indianapolis Colts for sticking with their grandfather-aged kicker and traded us Parkey. And if Parkey wins this game, you have no one else to thank but yourselves, Colts, because you are the ones that gave him to us. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Boy, this guy's already hit 350-plus yard field goals in preseason and regular season. That's like 10 times the amount that I've seen Henry kick in his entire career for the Eagles. Anyway, it's going to be a good game regardless. I'm excited. I may not seem like it today, but I really am excited about this because it's an intriguing matchup, and it is something, like I said, that is going to either boost my confidence or test my confidence in this team, because it's okay to lose to a team like the Colts. Just look good doing it. And that's what I want to take out of this game. If they lose. If they win, confidence is high. And people will take note, and more critics will shut up about this team, as they should. Anyway, Monday can't come fast enough. Let's go, Eagles. And as always, fuck the Dallas Cowboys. And I end with this screenshot. Have a good day, everyone.